You've been up in the Pilbara.
There aren't many towns on Earth that have generated more wealth than Newman. The iron ore mines that surround it have turned millionaires into billionaires, bankrolled the nation's public services for more than half a century, and employed untold millions of Australians either directly or indirectly. So you'd think that after all that, the town would look better than this. What you're about to see is a national embarrassment.
Clearly the wealth's not evenly distributed.
Newman is a BHP town and has been since 1966 when the Mount Whaleback mine was developed. Since then, BHP's opened a host of other iron ore mines near the town, as did Rio Tinto, Andrew Forrest Fortescue, Gina Rinehart's Roy Hill, and Chris Ellison's Mineral Resources. We couldn't be bothered working out how much iron ore has been exported from the Pilbara over the past 60 years, but we can say that in 2023-24, the area's ports shipped just shy of 700 million tonnes.
And that's just 1 year.
A lot of people making a lot of money from the ground around Newman. This bloke is not one of them. Peter Tinker is an elder from the area's traditional owners, the Matu people. He lives in a part of town so run down, the locals call it East Timor, because it's like a poverty-stricken war zone.
I bet his house wasn't always like that.
He's culturally obliged to take in family who need shelter, and they repaid the favour by trashing the place. The intuitive respect for elders that kept the Matu together for hundreds of generations through bushfires and cyclones and everything else the outback threw at them has been all but snuffed out by emu export. And we sit back and watch another generation of Aboriginal people get wiped out by fetal alcohol syndrome because we're paralysed by white guilt over the stolen generation, so we leave the kids in places that are patently unsafe.
Well, there obviously needs to be more support.
You cannot drive down the street in Newman without seeing a social welfare service van. But clearly there needs to be more or better services there. The problem is, which brings us to the point of this show, there's nowhere to stay. And here are some of the reasons for that. BHP owns 1,100 houses in Newman and 130 of them are completely empty, boarded up and derelict eyesores that dot the streets of the town, acting as mini ground zeros for social problems.
So what does Roger Cook say about that?
Roger Cook says, please don't investigate this housing issue too deeply, otherwise you might find out that the WA government is sitting on another 130 boarded up and derelict state houses. This is a place where people pay $200 a night for the privilege of sleeping like a tinned fish in a metal donga, and we have 260 houses sitting empty and getting trashed.
Broken window theory in action.
Criminologist named James Q. Wilson popularised this in the 1980s. Small signs of social disorder beget bigger crimes. It's a theory that Newman local Troy Patching put into layman terms when I was up there. Parts of Newman, and I've got to stress, only parts, the majority of this town is neat as a pin. Parts of Newman look like shit, and the empty houses are one source of that problem. The reason we know that's the case is because BHP told us.
One of the biggest issues that we've faced here in Newman, which we know about, is a vacant housing profile, particularly here in East Newman.
That social media video about the company's $158 million Pilbara housing plan was made in 2020.
We've been thinking about what we can do better with our vacant stock.
A lot of thinking and not much doing. Within 18 months of that video being posted, the price of iron ore did this. And in the 5 years since it went online, the big Australian has made more than $100 billion in profit from the mines around Newman, and paid more than $15.7 billion in royalties and taxes to Australian governments.
Maybe that's the reason they haven't fixed the houses.
Too busy counting all the money.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100.
I'm Ben Harvey.
Well, you won't be getting a job at BHP.
Or the government.